Founder, CEO, Mind Valley, the guy who pays my salary, the one who provides us this beautiful, beautiful space. If you agree with me, please clap. He's paying for all of this out of my bonus money. Everybody's money. Round of applause. And I will invite him on stage, and this is gonna get a bit awkward because I gotta mic him up. Please don't Instagram this. Give a round of applause for Vishen. Don't touch.
All right. You wanna put that in my...
Yeah, you put that yourself. You got your slides, right?
Yeah, I got my slides.
You're gonna have to...
No. Sekou is gonna connect me to the projector. I need a clicker. Oh, whoa. You want to start my slides, Sehui? Hi, guys. So, I'm going to be talking about... Sehui, do you have the slide ready? So I just got back from like one of the most incredible trips of my life. Basically, I got to visit the Mojave space... I got to visit the Mojave spaceport, which is basically, have you guys ever seen the first Star Trek movie where there's this scene of Captain Kirk riding a motorcycle and he's approaching this desert area where they're building the first Enterprise spaceship, that first spaceship to take man to space? So I got to see the early version of that. It's the Mojave Aeronautics and Space Center, and I got to actually see spaceships being constructed. So the topic of this presentation is on space entrepreneurship. I know you guys are used to talking about iPhone apps and websites and stuff like that, but what I want to show you is what is going to be hot 10 years from now. So basically, it started because of my association with the X Prize Foundation. So the X Prize Foundation, how many of you here have heard of it? It's probably the most powerful, effective, geek-friendly NGO in the world. Basically, the X Prize Foundation started because of this man, Peter Diamandis. And Peter is a doctor, a mechanical engineer, basically a total science guy. And he's also a crazy dreamer. And he asked himself, why is it that all my dreams of somehow visiting space, being able to fly in spaceships, all the stuff that science fiction writers said should be here by 2012 has not yet arrived. And he realized that America had stopped space research many decades ago, and there were no new innovations in space. Now, Peter asked himself, okay, what caused the aeronautical industry, what caused commercial aviation to sprout? And he realized that commercial aviation started when this man, Charles Lindbergh, flew a plane from New York to France. It was somewhere in the 1920s or 30s, I forget. So Peter wanted to find out what was it that motivated Charles Lindbergh to almost risk his life flying to France. And he realized Lindbergh was actually taking part in a competition. It was for something called the Ortigue Prize. Basically, a rich New York hotelier called Ortigue Raymond Ortigue decided that he was going to give away $25,000 to any man who could build a plane and fly from New York to Paris. Now, this would be the first transatlantic flight on the planet. Now, some 30 teams took part. And guess what? This $25,000 bounty created 30 teams. Many pilots died, but one man, Charles Lindbergh, completed that flight. But what was really cool was this. Not only did Charles Lindbergh complete the flight, and that sparked commercial aviation because now people knew it was safe to fly in airplanes over the big ocean, but $300,000 worth of innovation money was generated by these 30 teams to complete this quest. So a $25,000 bounty led to $300,000 worth of innovation. So Peter Diamandis thought, holy crap, can I replicate this? Basically what this is gamifying innovation. See, all these crazy pilots and engineers decided to build a plane, and they were spending like $20,000 to $30,000 to win 25 grand. Does that make sense? Not really, right? But the fact is they were doing it because human beings have an inherent need to do something epic. So Peter wanted to do something epic. He wanted to spark the space race in America. So he got down to St. Louis and under the arc in St. Louis. Now, why did he pick St. Louis? Because the first plane was called the Spirit of St. Louis. So he made this big announcement. I'm going to give away $10 million to anyone who can build a spaceship that will take 2 people to space land, go up to space again just to make sure it wasn't a fluke, land again with both pilots alive to claim the prize. And he decided to give away $10 million, money he did not have. Immediately that same day, 2 of his board of directors quit. But Peter then had made the announcement, now he had to raise the $10 million. So he found this Iranian programmer who had basically moved to America, penniless, started a tech company, sold it, was called Prodea Systems. Her name is Anusha Ansari. And Anusha Ansari, he had read in an article, had dreamed of someday going to space. So he called up Anusha every single day to pitch her on this idea for backing the X Prize. And he told her, listen, if you back this up, we'll call it the Ansari X Prize. Now, finally, Anusha caved in. She decided, she and her husband pledged $10 million, and the Ansari X Prize was born. And this sparked the current space movement. So what happened was several teams completed. One particular pilot, the name is Burt Rutan, he built this particular spaceship that actually completed that task. It went up to space with 2 pilots, landed, went up again, landed. Branson swooped in, bought that, and that was the pilot, Binny. And basically what happened was Virgin Galactic was started. And then the modern space race, the modern privatized space race started because of this one competition from Peter Diamandis. So look what's happened here, right? Branson saw what happened. He swooped in, bought the rights to this plane, launched Virgin Galactic, and since then he sold 500 seats at $200,000 per seat. They've not even started flights yet. They've collected they've collected about $110 million in ticket bookings, and they've not even started flights yet. Flights don't start till 2015. But this is pretty freaking fascinating. And it isn't just Branson. Now, by the way, this is me with Peter Diamandis and Anusha Ansari. What you're seeing behind us is actually the new spaceship. It's called, guess what? The Enterprise. And this one actually will take 6 people to space. This one is going to be in operation in about 2 years. Now, the X Prize went on to do all sorts of other things. They funded more efficient electric cars. Right now, they're launching a competition. We have a Malaysian team taking part, actually, called the Google Lunar X Prize. It's called Google Lunar X Prize because Sergey and Larry are backing it. But this X Prize is to basically get a craft to space, to the moon, to travel 500 feet on the moon and come back to Earth completely safe. Again, amazing stuff. We have a Malaysian team. They have teams from about 20 different countries. And again, it's amazing how this is generating innovation. And many of these teams are young people, just like you, but they're building a freaking moon rover. How cool is that? Now, so Peter Diamandis became famous. Anusha Ansari, of all the companies she started and sold 2 companies. She's now best known for being the woman who backed the X Prize and being the 2nd private female citizen to ever go to space. She actually went up to space in about 2007. First Iranian in space too. That's Peter's office. It's covered in space memorabilia. So he really is the guy who sparked the modern space race. Now let's look where this space thing is going now. But first, a quote by Peter Diamandis, right? Small teams driven by passion with a clear focus can do extraordinary things, things that large corporations and governments can do in the past. And that's really what he's doing. He's creating competition and inspiring small teams like the people over here to do epic shit. And the X Prize is just one, the X Prize for space, but there's also X Prize for more fuel efficient cells, X Prize for for fuel efficient cars, X Prize to clean up oil spills. And it's crazy what these competitions are generating. But today, we're just going to talk about space. By the way, this quote is something I witnessed Peter Diamandis say in April last year. And that particular speech was what really gave me the confidence to start Project Renaissance, which ultimately led to this auditorium and the expansion of webcam and incitement and all these other things. The idea that small teams with a clear commitment and focus can do things that previously only governments can do. Now, so I was recently invited because of my support for the X Prize Foundation to go on an innovation experience. And what we do is, this is a group of people. It includes people like VC Steve Jurvetson, people like Craig Venter who unraveled the human genome. And we got to travel to different areas of the US where crazy amounts of innovation are happening. So in addition to like seeing bases in San Diego where they are sparking undersea exploration, meeting Craig Venter, he's the guy who basically has made the human genome I'm losing my technical thing over here, but he's basically unraveled the human genome in a fraction of the time most people said it could be done. So this guy is a legend. And it was a really cool group filled with geeks. You guys would love these people. That's Seth Green of Robot Chicken. He was also in Austin Powers. That's the guy who invented Google Maps. And this is the son of Gene Roddenberry, the inventor of Star Trek. So all us geeks got to go and visit all these spaceports and stuff. And Anusha Ansari trained us on what to do if you are actually in space. And the reason she trained us is because as spaceships are becoming more real and as human beings are going up to space, right? Peter saw a niche, and that niche is someone has to train people how to be astronauts. So he basically bought a plane, and this is called, the US government calls it the Vomit Comet. It's basically a plane that goes up like this, and when it goes up like this, you experience double G. So basically you're just flat on the ground, you cannot move, you're twice your body weight. But then it goes down in a parabolic curve, which causes you to experience weightlessness. Then it goes up again, it goes down, it goes up, and if you're an astronaut in training, it does this 60 times. And after you've puked everything out and floated up and down in your own puke, you know, you're trained for the space shuttle. So now that in 2 years, people are going to be going to space, Peter, being an opportunist, a brilliant opportunist, bought a plane and launched this service. So now for $5,000, you can go on the Vomit Comet. It's no longer called it, of course. They had better branding. Now it's called something cool like Zero G Experience. But they only do it like 16 times, so you don't actually feel sick. But that's basically what happened. That's weightlessness. But this is when you double your body weight. You're basically lying on the ground. You feel like you have a fat person sitting on you. And that weight is all your own weight. Unfortunately, and then when you are going down, you are again up in zero G. So here's an example of someone who sees a trend that's coming up in the future. In 2 years, space tourism is going to be possible. So he started a business to already start selling this. So he's going to have the first business that gives people the experience of weightlessness. Lots of cool people was on the trip. That's Ratan Tata. He's the famous Indian billionaire. He was also floating in space. That was pretty cool to see. And unfortunately for me, I didn't take any photos because I thought I'd save my photos for like the final parabolic loop. But the plane had an engine trouble. And our flight, which was supposed to be 16 loops, had to end after 4 loops. So all the photos of me are basically me on the ground with an imaginary fat person sitting on me. That's really all I have of the entire experience. But again, it was really cool, amazing bonding. Steve Jurvetson, the famous VC of Draper Fisher Jurvetson, was on the trip. And that's the son of the Star Trek guy, Gene Roddenberry. His name is Rod Roddenberry. Now, after the trip, we actually got to dive in deep and see spaceships in production. Now, unfortunately, the American government is really strict about photography, but these are some sneaky photos I got to sneak out of my iPhone, like when no one was looking. No, I'm kidding. These were the actual photos I was allowed to release. So that is the Virgin Galactic hangar in the Mojave Desert. That's where the Enterprise is being built. This is probably the most successful, in terms of tickets sold, private spaceship that you can get on if you have about $200,000 to burn and an hour. That's really it, $200,000 for about an hour. But that's how it works. See, it's different from what you would think as a rocket would work. Basically, 2 planes fly the spaceship up in the air. Then it separates from the 2 planes. It has a rocket booster that shoots it to suborbital space. It floats around. So now when you're in there, you actually experience zero gravity for about 30 minutes. And then it goes into like a tornado-style loop, and it sails back to Earth. And that's the only thing I was allowed to photograph in that spaceship factory. Basically, this poster showing you what their future spacecraft would be. But it is amazing seeing what's under construction. Now, that's another competitor to Virgin Galactic. That's called the X-Core Lynx. This one is really cool. It's just you and a pilot, and they've invented a new kind of jet engine. And again, the guys inventing this, like the average age of people at X-Core is 27. These are crazy young people who see no limitations and are just doing epic shit. This one takes you directly up to space. You spend 3 minutes in zero gravity, and then you go again in a tornado-like curve back to Earth. This one costs us $95,000. It's a little bit cheaper. But the fact is, the prices are dropping. Okay? And what's going on right now is people like Peter Diamandis have sparked the imagination of Americans again. For decades, we forgot about space. I don't know if you guys saw this amazingly viral video by Neil deGrasse Tyson, where he talks about how America as a nation has stopped dreaming. We stopped dreaming about science, about technology, about space. And he talks about how in that video, the problem with America, he says, is that 80% of the people in government are ex-lawyers. We're the engineers, we're the scientists, we're the entrepreneurs who actually become politicians. So we can't trust the government to spark the imagination of high schoolers to dream about new science and new technologies. So it's entrepreneurs like you that have to do it. Entrepreneurs like Branson, or the guy who came up with X-Core, or Peter Diamandis, or in this case, the guy who came up with X deodorant. So this is, could we plug in the sound, please? So this commercial was just released at this year's Super Bowl. And again, what's beautiful about this commercial is you'll see how companies and entrepreneurs are now
Apollo Space Academy. Join now at axapollo.com for your chance to go to space.
Millions of Americans saw that. And what is the X-Apollo Space Academy? Check this one out.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Buzz Aldrin. 44 years ago, I made a brave decision to journey into space, and it changed my life forever. And now you too can become a member of this privileged group and experience everything that I have. The X-Apollo Space Academy is looking for regular people like you to go into space. If selected, you'll be sent to our space camp in Florida for rigorous astronaut training. The top recruits will then be rocketed into suborbit in an SXC spacecraft. Are you ready to make history? Then join the X-Apollo Space Academy and leave a man come back a hero. Good luck, everyone.
Now you may be wondering, right? Who gives a shit? Like $95,000 for that flight, unless you happen to join the X Academy. 95 grand, that's a lot of money. This is like a millionaire's plaything. But the fact is this, prices are dropping really rapidly. If you actually do the math, the actual cost in energy to get a human being of average body weight to space is only about $200. That's it. So the cost of fuel in one of those planes is about $2,000. So all we really got to do, I mean, there's enormous margin here to just through efficiency, fuel efficiency, and mechanical efficiency and engineering efficiency to drop the cost of getting someone of average body weight to space. And the real problem really with space is that the Earth is a gravity well. So the biggest challenge is just getting people to escape Earth's gravity. It's once you do that, getting to the next destination, the moon or Mars, is actually comparatively easy. More on that later. So where is this going, right? So here's the crazy part, right? It's not just tourism. Peter Diamandis, again, being the brilliant genius opportunist, has now started Planetary Resources, a company that declares that in 10 years, it's going to mine asteroids. Basically, a single asteroid in space has about $1 trillion worth of rare minerals. You guys know what platinum is, right? White gold. Do you know platinum does not naturally exist on the Earth? All platinum we are able to mine on the planet actually came from meteor strikes. They are all from space. Platinum exists primarily in space, yet it's one of the most precious metals out there. And we're going to have more and more demand for these exotic metals as we discover new uses for them. Yet all the platinum in the world today can fit in a block that would just take up that area of the room. All the platinum ever mined by man. Yet asteroids are rich in platinum. So what Planetary Resources is doing is basically they're creating this space telescope called the ARCID. They're going to send it out to space. Remember, the cost of getting objects to space is now dropping. It cost about only $200,000 to put a satellite up. A satellite is about the weight of a bus. So getting this up there to space would cost about relatively little. And sorry, it's only $200,000 for fuel. It's about 4 to 10 million overall. So we can get this to space in a matter of years for about $4 to $10 million. This then detects asteroids. It releases a probe that lands on the asteroids. This probe, and this is the really cool part, How do you get minerals from an asteroid back to Earth, right? The probe actually lands on the asteroid completely unmanned. It identifies the mineral, and it uses this new technology that takes the metal and creates it into metallic foam. So it's a giant foam ball of platinum. Then it positions that giant foam ball back to Earth, aiming at the Mojave Desert, and gently gives it a push. Because asteroids are not gravity wells. Asteroids do not have significant gravity, so it's easy to lift off from an asteroid. That giant foam ball crashes in the desert, it explodes, and now you create a spot in the desert rich in platinum. Now you send in miners to go and dig it up. Amazing. Now with this, we basically do not have to worry about ever running out of exotic materials. I saw a presentation on this. If you had to guess, how soon do you think we'd be up there mining asteroids? Anyone? Well, they believe they can do it yes, in the next 10 years. But it gets even crazier, right? Now, other companies are coming in. So Google is sponsoring the Google Luna X Prize. This is the one I just spoke about. Like I said, there's a Malaysian team taking part. But I asked them what happened to the Malaysian team. Apparently, the Malaysian government doesn't allow ordinary Malaysians to work with space technologies without government permission. So they had to, I think they got into some trouble. But anyway, it's pretty cool that we had a bunch of 20-year-old Malaysians competing for this. Now, the coolest part of the trip, though, was meeting Elon Musk. That is Elon Musk. He was addressing our group. So about 40 of us got to sit down with him in his boardroom and get a tour of SpaceX. SpaceX is probably the hottest company in space exploration right now. SpaceX has now officially replaced NASA's space shuttle. But Elon Musk's story is what is really phenomenal. So this is what SpaceX does, right? They're basically a trucking company for space. Now, for about $10 to $20 million, you can launch a satellite to space. They've dropped the price significantly. And they believe through efficient engineering, they can get the price to about 1% of what it costs NASA. Now, why did Elon Musk start this? Well, because Elon Musk, from the very early on, wanted to visit Mars. So Elon is probably one of my favorite, probably my favorite entrepreneur on the planet right now. For those of you who don't know him, grew up in South Africa, moved to the US, went straight to Silicon Valley because he figured this would be the place of opportunity. In Silicon Valley, when he was 23 years old, he started a company called Zip2. The internet was just booming. This was 1996. In 1999, Zip2 was sold for $300 million. He pocketed about $20 million from that. Zip2 was simply a company that allowed newspaper publishers to go online and run classified ads, a really very early Craigslist type business. Now with that 20 million in change, he started a company called X.com, which later merged with another company, a payment provider called PayPal, to become PayPal.com. He became the largest shareholder of PayPal. He made about $200 million there when PayPal was acquired by eBay. Now, he was now in his early 30s. He had $200 million, and he decided to pursue his craziest childhood dreams. Now, the cool thing is, I actually got to ask Elon a question. I asked Elon, dude, what makes you, I didn't address him as dude, of course, but I said, what makes you Elon Musk? If someone had to ask you, what is it about you? What is that Elon DNA? What would you say it is? And he said, well, this is basically it, right? I was an engineer. I was really geeky. In 1995, I moved to Silicon Valley. I just graduated from Stanford. I decided I wanted to join Netscape. So I walked into the Netscape office, and I had my resume there, and I wasn't the kind of guy who could, he wasn't the kind of guy who was very articulate. He was a geek, like all of you guys, celebrate that. So he sat down on a chair with his resume, waiting for someone to talk to him. Nobody spoke to him. And at the end, he's like, fuck it, I'm not gonna get a job at Netscape. I'll just start my own company. So he started Zip2, later on PayPal, and then with all his wealth, he decided, well, I could either buy an island and just live in paradise, or I could really do something to push the human race forward. And this is what he said that I thought was really cool. He says he craves doing something great for humanity. And what was really driving him at that point was that he was annoyed that man is not yet an interplanetary species. So he decided, I need to get a colony on Mars. So he started thinking, how could we get a colony on Mars? And his first idea was, well, let's take a bunch of sequoia trees, those beautiful redwoods, let's figure out a way to put them in a giant glass house, blast them to Mars, have them land on Mars, and have them grow and basically plant earth trees on Mars. And that would basically spark people's imagination, so more people would want to go there. He also said that would also give you a beautiful money shot, green trees with a red background. You can't get that on Earth. That'll be pretty cool. So he got on NASA's website, he said, and he searched, he tried to figure out, where is NASA's space program to get human beings to Mars? And he said he found nothing. So at first he thought, boy, this website sucks. I could build a better website than that. Then he realized that no, NASA had not innovated on rocketry since the Apollo program. Now, being Elon is the most confident man you'll ever meet. He decided, well, I have $200 million. And at this point, he had also started an electric car company called Tesla. So he had started an electric car company called Tesla Motors, which is now the most successful electric car company in the world. But at that time, it was just, if nobody else was gonna, he said this, I didn't want to sit back and watch things happen. I want to be part of it. So he decided, screw it. I will build a better rocket than NASA. If NASA's not going to innovate, I'll do it. So he used his money to get the best engineers together, and it was chaos. Firstly, his first rocket. Now remember, when you're building a rocket, the only passing grade is 100%. If you get 99%, that rocket is exploding in space and you've lost all your investment. It's perfect or it's exploding, basically. Now his first rocket exploded. His second rocket exploded. His third rocket was actually carrying a satellite. It went up to space and it exploded. So now Elon, this was 2008. He basically had his last bit of money left. Tesla Motors was sinking. Tesla Motors was about to go bankrupt. They had to lay off people. He had a third company. Again, this is crazy. The guy was running 3 companies called SolarCity, which is the biggest installer of solar panels on roofs in the US. That was started by him and his cousins. That was losing money. And SpaceX was about to be completely bankrupt. He had one bet. Elon said he was so broke he had to borrow money for rent. And to make it worse, his wife left him that year. So your wife leaves you. You have 3 companies, all of which are about to die. The press is making fun of you. Literally everyone was laughing at this guy. He had one chance. His 4th rocket. If it blew up, that was the end of Elon Musk. But he said, you know, my style is to bet everything on something epic. I don't care about money. I just want to do something epic, so I bet everything. Nobody invested in Tesla Motors. Elon put in 20 million. He tried to get investors. Everybody laughed at him. Nobody wanted to back an electric car company. He had to put in another 20 million, then another 40 million. He had to back everything himself. So he was completely out of money. Tesla Motors was failing. SpaceX was failing. One last chance. And that final rocket made it. Rocket number 4, boom, made it to space. NASA approached him and signed a $1.2 billion contract. And NASA decommissioned the space shuttle. Elon Musk became the man to basically build a better spaceship. And why did he do it? All because of this one thing. He wants to make man an interplanetary species, and he believes he can do it in the next 10 years. That's what he told us. Now, he said he's known for like aggressive timelines, but this is what he wants to do. He wants to make sure that in our generation, we have colonized another planet. And that's just crazy epic. So why did he want to start SpaceX? Because SpaceX is nothing more than a trucking company that gets satellites to space. It's because by starting SpaceX, he gets to rapidly innovate on rocket technology. And before you know it, get a man to Mars. He believes that right now it'll take us about 6 months to go, once you get to orbital space, 6 months to get to Mars. He believes we can later reduce that time to about 3 months and figure out the ways to build a city there on Mars. But this is Elon's rocket. This is what has now officially replaced us. So again, it's pretty amazing stuff. So we got to hang out with Elon. It was a wonderful trip. But the point I'm trying to make over here is that, you know, what I really got from this trip is that, yeah, you can get excited about mobile apps. That's really, really, really cool. You can get excited about the latest web apps. But the pace of technology is so beautifully exhilarating. In 10 years, we'll be mining asteroids. In possibly 20 years, we'll be colonizing Mars. You guys will, many of you will be under 40 when we set foot on Mars. There are opportunities out there for entrepreneurship that other entrepreneurs are not seeing, and you guys ought to start looking into these things. If you think space is a bit too out there, and honestly it's not, I thought it was, but it's not, then look into things like 3D printing, nanotechnology, synthetic biology. All these things are coming up at exhilarating pace. And I pay a lot of money to be able to travel to Silicon Valley, get access to these labs, meet the scientists, talk to them about it, because I want to be on the cutting edge, and I always want to come back and be able to share these ideas with the Malaysian community. But definitely pay attention to it. There are whole new eras of entrepreneurship opening up. It's like being in 1992 and watching bulletin boards emerging, and being able to see that 9 years later that would lead rise to Google and eBay and Yahoo. That's how cool this is. So basically, embrace, know that change is coming at an amazing pace, and get ready to opportunize it. Thanks.